Good morning. It's great to be with you. Yes, on this Friday as we enter into another end of a week, and a final week, a finished week, a completed week. It's ticked off. It's behind us. No matter how difficult it might have been this week, I want to remind you it's behind you. And if it's behind you, keep it behind you. The only one that can bring it forward is the devil, because that's what he loves to do. He loves to bring those problems before us and plant it there as a tree or a mountain before us, and we need to then know that we are able to overcome and conquer because of that, of what Jesus Christ has done. So as we continue with our theme, back to God with a clean heart. Boom! That's what we do. It's back to God with a clean heart. Who cleanses our heart? The blood of the Lamb. That is why we celebrate Passover. That is why we look forward to Passover, knowing what Jesus Christ accomplished upon the cross of Calvary. That Lamb, that sacrificial Lamb, without spot or blemish, his name is Jesus. Stepped out of heaven, God stepping out of heaven for you and I to bring us a completed work that can only be found in him. So Passover, as we know, is a week away. And once more, we will celebrate one of the greatest events in history of the creation of man. That what God promised when Adam fell. What did he do? He covered Adam in blood, with blood-soaked skin, saying, there will come a day that my son will come to this earth, and he will go to the cross, and he will die upon the cross, and he will clothe you with his blood. That is why when we get saved, we put on the righteousness of Christ. We clothe ourselves with the righteousness of Christ. Not so, not in our righteousness, not in man's righteousness, not in the preacher's righteousness, but in the righteousness of the one who became our Passover lamb, that the death angel now passes over. He has no hold upon my life. Yes, we're going to die. We're still going to die. This is given. This is the result of the fall of Adam. But we will die knowing that Jesus has made a way into the presence of God. Why? Because again, Jesus reminds us in his word that he has gone to prepare a place for us. He says, I go and prepare a place for you, that where I am, there you will be too. How do I obtain that place? Through, again, coming through the cross, reminding ourselves of what Jesus Christ accomplished on our behalf. Our celebration will revolve around God who became man, took the sin of man, and paid the price of death for sin of man in full. It wasn't a part payment, down payment. It didn't say, I'm going to give a deposit and I'll pay the rest off. No. It was a completed ransom. Remember this? The enemy had a ransom over our head, and Jesus came and paid it complete payment. Nothing more owed. There's nothing more owed to the devil. Everything is done. You know what is going to be owed to him is, yes, he's going to be taken and cast into the lake of fire. We're waiting for that day, and that day is soon to come. So if mankind could only acknowledge what took place some 2,000 years ago, the world we live in would change overnight for the better. Can you imagine bringing back your family, bringing back your work colleagues, bringing back those that you fellowship with, those that you possibly play sport with, bringing them all back to God? Imagine that. Imagine your gatherings. It'll be completely different. Every time Gailey and I go out for coffee, we sit down, and our conversation always revolves. It starts off with the children. It might start off with a problem of finances. It might start off with some sort of problem. But it always ends in this, giving glory to what God is doing to us and for us through his word, and what he has done for us, and what he's accomplished on our behalf, and what we are waiting for in return of that what he did at the cross of Calvary. Man, we look forward to that time that we're going to step into heaven knowing the price paid for in full. Now, I have a ticket. Man, it's paid in full, and it's going to open that door for me the day that I close my eyes upon this earth. So if mankind could acknowledge that, I believe we would see a change. Instead of mankind coming back to God, claiming God and proclaiming God as the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, like those of 2,000 years ago, took God and placed him on a Roman cross. Man tried to kill God, but they could not kill God. Listen to what John chapter 12, 31, 32 says. Now judgment is upon this world. Whoa. When I am lifted up from the earth, I will draw every judgment to myself. It says people. What were people? They were to be judged. So again, we can put into that in brackets, judgment. God took the judgment of mankind and he dealt with it on the cross of Calvary. In the Old Testament, man's judgment was dependent upon animal sacrifice. Once a year, at the time Jesus was being judged by Pilate, the high priest were checking the sacrificial lamb for defects. You know what? Jesus was standing before Pilate, and Pilate was testing him, trying to find any fault in him. But you know what? He could not. Jesus was perfect. And we know that the perfect lamb went to the cross for you and I to pay our penalty, that what God should do on our lives to us, the wrath of God that should have come upon us, came upon him. So why not, on this Friday, come back to God with an understanding that your sin has been dealt with some 2,000 years ago upon the cross and paid in full.